Welcome to the Red Devil Cooking Project. My name is Chef John Chapievsky, and with me today are three of my fine young men, my fine students. We have Sam Valle, we have Jonathan Salters, we got Spencer King Chromosome Smith. Today what we're going to be doing is breakfast. We've got several different things that we're going to be putting together. Sam will be putting together biscuits and gravy. Jonathan's going to be making what we call potatoes O'Brien, and Spencer's going to be helping me with two omelets. We're going to make a French version and an American version of an omelet. So what we're going to go ahead and do to get started with, Sam's going to go ahead and put the biscuits in the oven and set the timer for about 13 minutes. While that's going on, John's going to start getting the potatoes going. So we've got a skillet right here. We're going to go ahead and get the fire going. All right, now every time you hear the term O'Brien, that means there's peppers and onions with them. So potatoes O'Brien's pretty classic potato dish. John's going to start with his onions and peppers. He's going to saute them in some olive oil. And we're going to season them with a little bit of salt and pepper. And then once the onions are translucent, the peppers are cooked, he's going to add probably about, I would say, 3 cups of cooked, diced red skin potatoes. And we're going to go ahead and season that with some paprika also. So, Sam, go ahead and make your gravy. Sam's going to start making a sausage gravy. He's going to melt a 1/4 pound, 4 ounces of butter. And he's going to add some flour to that, about a 1/2 cup of flour, to make a roux. So, Sam's going to melt the butter. We're going to add the flour. And once that butter and flour combine, forms what we call a roux. And then he's going to add his milk. Now, he's going to add cold milk to this. And we're going to basically stir it from ground zero until it heats and it thickens. And then we're going to add our sausage, our black pepper, and our salt. John's going to add just a little bit more oil to his pan because once he adds his potatoes, they're going to absorb everything. So we're going to make sure they don't stick. So we've got about a 1/2 green pepper and a 1/2 red onion diced in that skillet. We're getting close to being ready to add our potatoes. So once we add those potatoes, again, they're already pre-cooked. We're going to add some salt and pepper and some paprika to give them a little bit of color. And those are going to be sort of our accompaniment to the two omelets that we make in here in a second. Now, the roux that Sam is making is what we call a blonde roux. It's once the flour and butter are immediately incorporated. There are several variations. There's a brown roux, which has sort of a nutty flavor. There's also a black roux that you have to cook for a long time over a stovetop. And that's usually the basis for a lot of Cajun and Creole type dishes. And Sam's going to go ahead and add his milk to the gravy. Now remember, that milk is cold. You can't, when you thicken things with a roux, it has to be one hot and one cold, or vice versa. They can't be both the same temperature or they won't thicken properly. It'll separate. So since the roux has just been cooked, it's hot, we're adding cold milk. So when it thickens, it'll hold its consistency. It won't separate. See, the potatoes are in there. John's seasoning them now with some paprika, some pepper. So how are we looking over here, Sam?
Fully mix the flour,
Okay.
butter, and
Just make sure you keep stirring. When you make your sausage gravy, you want to make sure you keep stirring from the bottom because that milk can scorch easily. That's what we don't want. So I got a beautiful gravy forming. Our potatoes are cooking. Spencer and I are going to start banging out these two omelets. We're going to start with the French version. All right, so the gravy is being close to being finished. Potatoes are getting close to being finished. So So we're gonna go ahead and start with our French omelet. So Spence, do me a favor, John, turn this on for me, over medium heat. All right, so what we're gonna do, take our eggs. We're gonna add just a touch of cream, just maybe an ounce, because I don't want to add too much because when it cooks, it'll separate. And you'll have like a little watery puddle on your plate, and that's what we don't want. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna go and whisk these eggs with a little bit of cream. They're ready to go. Now, I'm not gonna season these just yet. I'm gonna season these as the omelet's just about finished, because the salt will actually start breaking down the eggs and it'll be really kind of mushy, and that's not what we're looking for. So, got a rubber spatula. And just a little bit of oil. Now, a French omelet doesn't get flipped like an American omelet would. So we're gonna let the oil warm up a little bit. And what we're gonna do is when we put the egg mixture in, we're gonna shake the pan and stir in the center. Shake and stir, shake and stir. That's all you need to do. And then, like I said, a French omelet does not get flipped, it gets folded. Alright, so we're going to shake and stir, shake and stir. We're going to let this cook up a little bit. We're going to continue to stir and shake it in a second. Potatoes just about done? All right. You notice the gravy thickened up really nice. So go ahead, Sam, add about half that ground sausage, some of the black pepper, and some salt. Let's get that seasoned. And you're going to add a couple pinches of the green onions also. I'm going to cut the heat up just a little bit. I'm going to kind of swirl this a little bit too, just to see if that'll help. And we're getting close. All right, that gravy looks beautiful, by the way. Let's go ahead and lower the heat. Take out the whisk and go ahead and put your ladle in there, because we need it here in about 5 minutes or so. All right, so our French omelet is just about done. And remember, we're not going to flip it, we're going to fold it. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our plate and fold it right onto the plate. Now, French omelet is usually garnished with some vegetables and some herbs on top. So we're going to go ahead and slice up this tomato. I'm going to take just a couple pieces of julienne pepper. And then we're going to just gently season this. Okay, so John's going to bring his potatoes over here. All right, so what we're going to do And take these potatoes, put them in this ring mold. Sorry. I'm going to go ahead and take the ring off. And there's our first plate, a French omelet with a side of potatoes O'Brien. While I'm waiting for that pot to get, that skillet to heat up, excuse me, we're going to go ahead and do our biscuits and gravy. So, got some beautiful biscuits here. Now, whenever you present something, it's usually better to present in an odd number. So we're going to actually do 1.5 biscuits, just so it doesn't look disproportionate. So we've got our beautiful biscuits. Gravy. We have this beautiful sausage gravy that Sam made. We're going to go ahead and just smother this in gravy. Just a little bit of a little garnish. And there you have our biscuits and gravy, Red Devil style. Now, finally, I think our skillet should be hot enough. I'm going to go ahead and add the oil. I'm going to add our peppers and onions first. I'm going to add about 1/4 cup of diced ham. I'll let that cook for a couple seconds. While that's cooking, I'm going to go ahead and whisk our eggs up. We're going to add just, again, a touch of cream, maybe about 1 ounce or so. Not so much that it'll separate, but just enough to make it on the creamier side. Out of here. All right. I'm going to toss this a little bit. We're going to go ahead and add our eggs. Now, we're going to cook this a little differently than we did the French omelet. You see, the sides are starting to set. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our rubber spatula, push that towards the center, and let the raw egg kind of fill in its space. At this point, I'm going to swirl it a little bit. Again, I'm trying to get all that excess egg cooked. We don't want any moisture. We don't want it dry, but I don't want it watery is what I'm trying to say. All right. So we're about where we're ready to go. We're now, an American omelet you do flip. So what we're going to do, just like that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to flatten this out just a little bit, spread it out so it cooks evenly. And while that's cooking, we're going to go ahead and add our cheese. You notice I'm just putting cheese on half because we are going to fold this on the plate. All right. So again, we're going to do the same sort of presentation here. I'm going to put our potatoes in this ring mold. I'm gonna lift that up. We're gonna come this way this time. Just a few green onions. A little paprika. So there you have it. We have beautiful French style omelet, an American classic, a Western omelet, and then biscuits and gravy, a Southern classic. And there you have breakfast Red Devil style. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you next week.